Welcome everyone today. My name is Mr. O and I will be going through the problems number 10 through 12 on the practice exam 1 for the SAT. But before I continue, I want to mention that there are prior videos that exist that I went through the previous questions and did the whole explanation. As usual, I'm going to explain that when I do these problems, I'm going to first do it really quickly, go through it pretty fast, and then afterwards what I'm going to do is I'm going to explain in depth on how I did the problem. And so I'm going to go ahead and get started. So number 10. So the question says this: for the function g is a constant f4, so I'm going to plug in. Okay, got it. Okay. One. Okay, so then it'll be negative 4. Okay, so I was able to figure out that the answer for number 10 is A, and now I'm going to go ahead and explain how I was able to get to this answer. And so for this problem, the question states this. It states that g of x equals to ax squared plus 24. But the important thing that I'm realizing is the fact that they asked me two things. They mentioned that g of 4 equals to 8, and they mentioned that g is of negative 4. And it just asked me generally, how do I go about answering this question? And the important thing is this. So when we are looking at this function, I have to understand that the x right here is being replaced with the 4. So what I'm going to do is exactly that. I'm going to replace all possible x's with 4. And so right here, I am literally going to demonstrate that this is what's going on. And g of x is going to end up being equal to 8, like this. And so I know that when I work this through, I'm basically doing something very similar to substitution, where I'm replacing specific values and I'm going to end up now solving. And as usual, what happens is that I'm going to balance out the equations just like this. These cancel out. This is going to become negative 16 because 16a, and thus when I divide it by 16, a is going to equal to negative 1. So now I know that the value is negative 1. And thus, when I am working with this equation again to solve for what is equal to this is my end goal. This is going to be my end goal. And so I'm going to do is rewrite this equation. So g of x is now equal to, as we mentioned, negative 1 equals to a. So it's going to be negative 1 x squared plus 24. And like what I did right here, where I substituted the x value, I'm now going to substitute the x value as negative 4. So right now, I'm going to do that. And be aware, I am putting a parentheses around negative 4 because this negative does not influence the negative in here, which is going to be a common misconception that a lot of students have. And so when you're going through this, I'm going to realize that once I solve it all out, my final answer is going to be 8. And the final answer is A. And so that is how I'm able to solve for number 10. And now to continue on to the next question for number 11. So number 11. All right. So BC represents the price per pound of beef and chicken. X weeks after. Okay, got it. What's the price per pound? What's the price per pound? Okay. So when it equals to. Okay, got it. Okay. Okay, so I need to make them equal to each other. I'm going to move this over, so 0.415x equals to, well, 0.35 as well. So 5, well, 0, so 0.60, 4. And then it's asking for what? What was the price? What is equal to, what is the price per pound of beef? That's what I'm looking for, beef. Okay, so 2.35 plus 0.25 times 4. So 1, okay, 2.35. Okay, got it. So the final answer is D. Okay. So now that I'm able to solve out number 11, now I'm going to explain to you how I was able to get to the answer real quick. So before I do so, I'm going to copy down just the main two equations, and I'm going to explain to you what the problem was mainly asking for. Because I understand that when we are working with word problems, at least what I've seen was a lot of students or a lot of people end up getting very confused because there's a lot of words. Word problems are not the easiest things to work through, but I'm only looking for the key information. And the first thing I noticed was that they basically told me that this is the price for beef, this is the price for chicken. I realized that they stated that they want me to figure out what were the prices when they're equal to each other, and specifically what is the price per beef. So this is going to be my main equation that I need to use when I am going to finish this word problem. And the part is this. The part is that when I'm working through this, now that I know this, I need to make them equal to each other. That's the first thing I realized. The first thing I realized was I'm going to make this plus 0.25x equal to 1.75 plus 0.40x. And so whenever you have two-way equations like this, I need to move equations, all my variables to one side, all my constants to one side. And so for this question, I'm going to move all of this, the variables, parts that have variables, basically to one side. And so I'm going to find out that it's going to be 0.15x, and I'm going to copy down the rest that's still left over. Afterwards, I am going to now move the constants to one side, as I mentioned before. And so these cancel out, and this is going to be 60, if I remember correctly. Yeah, so this is going to end up becoming 0.60 equals to 0.15x. And when you divide by 0.15, you're going to realize that, but based on just quick mental math, it's going to become about 40 cents, like this. 40, and I'm going to move it up a little bit, equals to x. And that helps me solve for x, whether it's not for this or this. But the question states specifically, what was the price per pound of beef? And beef is my representation by b. And thus, I'm going to plug this value into here. So I'm going to plug this. Actually, it's not going to be 40. That's my mistake, but it's going to be 4. So I'm going to plug that back into there now. So 2.35 plus 0.25 times the 4. And thus, when I multiply these together, and this is equal to beef, it's going to become 1. So plus 2.35 equals to b. B equals to $3.35. I'm duly note the unit, and thus its final answer is going to be D. And so that's how I am able to do number 11. And just to continue on to the very last question, so number 12. So 12 says this, okay, so origin has a slope of 1.7, okay, so it passes through origin, okay. So idea, slope 1.0. Okay, so this would be 1. Do I see? Nope, I do not see that, so I'm going to just continue on. Next thing is 14. Okay, perfect. Okay, so now I'm able to solve out for number 12. I'm now going to explain to you how I was able to get to number 12. So when I'm doing number 12, number 12 is more of a conceptual understanding. It's based around the idea of slopes. And the important thing you have to understand about slopes real quick is the fact that how slopes work is that it's based around the idea of rise over run. So a lot of times a lot of people know it's like the y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1, or aka it's just like the general idea of y over x. And so when I am working through this question, I knew right off, it mentioned origin. Origin automatically means 0, 0. That is the coordinates for an origin. And it states that slope is 1 over 7. So that means that whenever I am going certain number of units for this question, so when they say slope is equals to 1 over 7, that means I need to go 1 unit up, aka for y, and 7 units right for x, since it's a positive slope. And so that's what I exactly did. And that's why I did that little sketch real briefly. So the idea is that I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1. And be careful, it's not 1, 7, it's actually 7, 1. And when I looked at the answer choices for A through D, I did not see that. I did not see 7, 1 at all. And so I realized that, okay, well, I need to keep going then. 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, and 2. So I know that the next step is going to be 14, 2. And thus, the answer for this question is D. And that concludes the final answer that I got. Thank you so much for watching this video, and please do subscribe or follow us on Facebook, and hope to see you next time.